Scott, you also heard the president there talk about the Hyde Amendment, which bars federal funding for abortions. How much is that going to be a sticking point for Republicans? And did he step into some tricky territory there?
Well, first of all, President Trump is recognized by Republicans as an extraordinarily important pro-life leader. He's made policy decisions and judicial appointments that everybody appreciates. So he's got a lot of credibility and a lot of capital on pro-life issues. On Hyde, it will be an issue for some pro-life Republicans in the Congress, a lot of pro-life Republicans. So how they operationalize or how they react to what he had to say, I'm waiting to see. But I have heard some rumblings in the grassroots that that's not going to be something that they're going to want to do, be flexible on that. But again, there's a lot of things at play here and a lot of ideas in the water. I don't think the Republican Party, frankly, should turn away from its pro-life bona fides. But at the same time, I think the president was trying to say to them, be as creative as you can to get to a solution. If there's one thing I learned about in writing the book, Trump's an outcomes-based guy. He's trying to get to an outcome. And, you know, he's willing to be flexible and color outside the lines of what you would consider to be normal ideological bounds to get there. That's one of his leadership strengths. And I think he was just encouraging the Republicans, like, don't be hemmed in by old arrangements. If you can find a creative way to do something good today, do it. But the pro-life issues are important to a lot of members of Congress. There's no question about that.
Kate, when you hear Scott and the president talk about Republicans owning health care, is that something that worries Democrats, or are Democrats chomping at the bit and saying, go for it, we'll take you on here?
I think Democrats would be thrilled to have health care be front and center across the course of this campaign year. I think, you know, congressional Democrats have gotten a lot of flack for essentially their, some would argue, lack of leadership, lack of cohesion across 2025. I think they do need to be given credit for forcing through the shutdown mechanism, forcing this debate about healthcare subsidies to the fore. And then secondly, I think Hakeem Jeffries deserves some credit for forcing the discharge petition, for keeping Democrats together, and for getting to a place where we're now looking at Democrats having put forth a bill, a clean bill, to extend these subsidies and help keep healthcare costs down for people. And Republicans, particularly in purple districts, are in a tough spot because they vote against it, and that is going to be in a television ad for the duration of 2026. So I think Democrats should get some credit for driving this issue from a political standpoint to the fore. And I think if Democrats are looking at Donald Trump saying, hey, we got to try to own healthcare, that's a good day for Democrats, and that's a win, because that is ground that they want to be fighting on.
Scott, does any of what Kate just said make you nervous at all?
Not really, because I think the Republican retort is, wait a minute, the healthcare regime in the United States is called Obamacare. Obama was a Democrat president. The Obamacare subsidies were put in by Democrats. The sunset on the subsidies put in by Democrats. And so now you want to blame Republicans for a problem that was fully of Democrats making. We're going to try to solve these problems, but let's all have a rational, reasonable, and honest conversation about the American healthcare system. We live under Obamacare. Obama was a Democrat, and so for Democrats to be running around saying somehow this is all the Republicans' fault, I don't think voters are going to buy that. I do think what they're looking for are solutions. I think that's why the president, his impulse here is, hey, let's do something. Let's pass a bill. Let's show the American people that even though we have a failed system, there's actually some reasonable adults in Washington who are interested in outcomes and solutions more than just campaign rhetoric.
I admire Scott's effort. I think that is a really tough argument when Obama has not been president for 10 years and Donald Trump is the president now. I think politics happens in the now, and I think trying to lay an argument at the foot of a president who hasn't been in office for a decade is not going to feel relevant to most voters.